All right, so I'm here with Assimilate Python from Zero, and the main topic today is how to think about a paint by numbers approach to Python. And this comes up quite a bit is how do you build stuff by really almost like a formula? And one of the ways you can do it is think about this concept of a paint by number approach. And so I'm going to just quickly sketch out the concept here, which is uh, this concept of paint by numbers with Python. Go here, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so with the concept of paint by numbers with Python, how do we reason about this? Well, one of the ways to reason about paint by numbers is to consider the concept of how to actually build out a repeatable structure every time you're going to write code in Python. And one of the ways you can do that is to think about the logic itself as a reproducible component. And once you have this logic, you can assimilate it in other sections with Python. And this would be Python right here. And it could be a command line tool. That could be one. It also could be a web app. It could be a mobile app. It could be a library. We'll call this a library. And this is the paint by numbers approach, which is once you've built something once, why not use it in many different tools at the same time? And that's the what I would call the paint by numbers approach to Python. And so let's go ahead and go a little bit further and take a look at how this could apply directly to building things in Python. So I'm going to go now to my Python directory. I'm going to go into this section here, and I'm going to build out a structure that applies the logic of this paint by numbers approach. Okay, there we go. This should take just a second. There we go. And the first thing that we can do is if I go in and I say I want to make a paint by numbers approach to code, I would say the first thing to do would be to create a directory that would contain my library code. And so we can do that first. We can say make directory, and we'll call this my lib. And then go ahead and create a file. And then we can put in logic. So we'll say my lib logic.py, right? And so this is going to be the center of the universe that will do many things with this one piece of code. And so now that I've got the library, I just need it to do something useful. And I think one of the more useful things to do, potentially because it's fun, it would be to build a function that infinitely returns back random values. And so what I can do is I can say from random import choices. I think random import choice or choices. I always forget which one is which, and I'm going to build a random fruit. So we'll say def random fruit like this, and what I want to do is say while true yield these choices. So basically, I can build something that will forever give me back a random value, and I can put some other documentation there, return a random fruit, uh, uh, basically forever. Um, and how would we actually go ahead and use that random fruit example? Now I just need to build this out into some other library. I guess the first thing to do though, whenever I build a paint by numbers approach, is to play around with IPython. First, test it out. I'm going to say from my lib imports my lib dot logic import random fruit like that. There we go. And we'll say basically for blank in range 3, or let's just say 5. We could just say random next random fruit, I believe is the way to call this. And so I would need to print this. So let's say print this. Whoops. Prints random fruit. So always a kind of a good idea to play around with the code a little bit first to make sure you understand it. You can see it's just going to infinitely return one of these choices, because that's what a generator can do, is it just returns back a choice essentially forever until you tell it to stop giving you choices. And so now that I've got something that's kind of cool like this, the next step I would like to do is I would like to format my code and lint my code. And so I'm going to build a new makefile step called refactor. And we can just, inside of here, we can say formats and lints, right? That's typically the way I would want to do it. So say make format. Now I do want to have this library be linted. So I'm gonna change this to say my lib, add that in there, and I'm also going to change it right here, my lib. Exactly. So now if I say make factor, it's going to really watch all the things I'm doing to make sure that I'm not doing something weird, which in this case I did. Look, in explore functions, there's some bad code. And what does it say? 55 redefine. This is from a while back, but I have something that I redefined here. Oh, results redefining from outer scope. Function already defined line 16. So I don't know what this thing was. This is example Python functions. These were just some functions that I did from a while back. And there are all kinds of weird stuff going on in here. So that's probably not a great example of it. But what I could do is I could tell pylint to ignore that file. So pylint ignore file, because it's a file I don't care about. Pylint disable. What if I just want to disable the entire file? Add pylint will cause it to fail. Pylint ignore a file. Pylint ignore file. Let's see here. Not sure exactly the best way to do this, but I can. It's kind of annoying actually, because I want to keep this code around, but I also don't want to get rid of it. So I'm gonna quarantine it. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say make directory, old tutorial or something like that. Like old tutorial code. And I'm gonna move explore git move, I think. Yep, mv explore functions. I don't know if I've even checked it in. I say git status. So get mv explore functions py to old tutorial code. There we go. We can say get status, get add everything in library. That way we're not getting weird code that's gonna mess up what we're building. So now if I say refactor, we got clean code. That was a one-off weird thing that I was building. And so the next thing to do would be to build out a command line tool. And so this is where the paint by numbers approach comes in handy, is I can take that one piece of logic and I can actually build out multiple tools with it. So I can build out a web tool and I can build out a command line tool with that logic. So the first thing I'll build is a command line tool. And so I'll say CLI logic py, something like that. Or actually, let's even make it like that, CLI logic. And I'm going to make it executable. CLI logic. And then I'm going to go to it, and it should be pretty easy to build, is we can just use that logic to build out a command line tool. So I'll say from lib logic imports, and let's just double check random fruit. Imports random fruit. There we go. And now I just need to build a click group. And so I also need to import click, which is a command line tool library. That's, and let's just double check it's installed. Yeah, it's installed here. And I'll put some documentation. This is a CLI tool that runs code in the library, my lib package. Okay, and now we can build a command, and we'll call this one rando fruit. There we go. Better. Build a bit of click command. And what this one will do is we're actually going to pass an account inside of here, and we can do add an option. So let's say add a click option. Exactly what I want. The number of fruits to generate, because I can loop through as many times as I want. That's where this option comes in very handy. And so print a bunch of random fruits, and we could even put in some really cool stuff in here as well, which is, and this is something I like to do for fun, is we'll say from and imports choice. Did I do that before? Choice. And so I also can have some randomness here to do some fun stuff. So I can say, like, randomly print a new colored fruit, right? And so we can use the we can actually pick this. We can say like colors is equal to, and we can put all the different colors, and then we can say here choice colors, right? So it'll, not only will the fruit be random, but the color that is printed will be random. And we could even put a little bit more documentation here that says example CLI /CLI.py and do fruit count 5, something like this. And then we could build this out into a function. CLI, there we go. So this is really the paint by numbers. Make a logic, make a command line tool. Next up, let's go ahead and run this. So we can chmod this. I don't know if I did actually. Maybe I already did it. Yeah, I think I already did. Let's do help first, and it's going to say, oh look, there's a command called rando fruit, print a bunch of random fruits. Let's go ahead and do that. Say rando fruit, and let's do help. There we go. Oh, it says count 5. Great. Let's do that. Let's do count 5. Let's see what happens. There you go. Apple, banana, orange, banana, orange. Right. So basically, it can print as many as I want, and each fruit will be random, and each color will be random. Right. So kind of a cool concept, right? You can build logic out by just tying things together very quickly. So now that we've got that, I can actually do a get status here. We can add this. We can add in any random fruit and push this in. And then the next step would be for us to build out a web app next. And so in order to do that, I'm going to say touch web web logic like that. And this will be a fast API tool. And so in order to do that, we'll need to do fast API. I think UVcorn, two that we would care about. And I think I could even be lazy and even, well, first of all, let's install the libraries. Okay, got that working. And then next up, we'll say from logic, my lib, logic, import random fruit. And then we'll say import fast API. And then say, here we go, fast API, get random fruit, async random fruit, count one, turn random fruit forever. Sure. I mean, like, we'll even put a note here that says like, if count is less than 100, then do this, because we don't want to spam ourselves, right? Else, we could say like count is equal to 100, and then just return it. And we can even say like prints, you know, the maximum number of fruits is 100. You requested that, right? So now we just need to run it. Unicorn host would be I think like 0.0.0 port 8000, port 8080 probably, or sure, let's do 8000. And then I just say Python logic. It should run inside of here, and we should get a full working. Now there's no main route though, which is always a good idea to make like a hello world route. So let's do that. Let's do app, and we'll just say like hello world, right? And we'll say reroute, return hello world. And let's just go here again. There we go. Open it up. Hello world. So we have a hello world, and then I'm going to do docs like this, and it will show us the fast API, right? So what's cool about this is I can obviously run this, try it out, but hello world, but I also can go back to here and I can get the random fruits. And so let's try it out. Let's start with 5 random fruits. There we go. Apple, banana, banana, orange, orange. But we also can do more. We can also do 50, and I'll do 50 random fruits. There we go. And there's all of our random fruits. Or we can do 100 random fruits, or do 99 random fruits, random fruits. And then if we say 101, should just return back 100 because we were nice and said, hey, you can't do that much. And if we go back to our prompt here, it'll even say, look, the maximum number of fruits is 100. You requested 100 fruits. So that's all you get, right? Is 100. So pretty easy to do the paint by numbers approach with Python. And if we go through here, we say make lint, like that. Use variable I on 23, which is CLE logic, line 23. So we just go like that, get rid of that thing, and then make sure all the code looks good, check it in, status, and add this, hit commit, and numbers. So that's it. That's paint by numbers with Python. And next week I'll keep going and get more stuff going with Python. All right. See you next week.